Hey, I'm Natalie Potts, and this is the Natalie Potts podcast. If you want to talk about your business, your life, your health, and more, then you are in the right place. We do it all with humour, love, and inspiration to help you create a life you love. So, let's dive in. On today's episode, I welcome Matt Elwell. Matt is the co-founder of the Elite Closing Academy and the author of Open with the Close. I joined Matt's Gold program about 10 months ago, and the experience has literally changed my life. If you're not getting the sales you want in your business right now, then my new program Momentum is everything you need to help you get started on a path to success. It will not only help to improve your sales skills, as Matt joins and supports all of my clients going through building their business, becoming more confident, and being forward focused in creating a phenomenal business. To join Momentum, check the show notes after and book in a call with me where we can discover if you are the right fit for the program. For now, over to Matt. Thank you, Matt, for joining me today. I'm really excited to have this time with you, and I know this conversation is going to be great because I always learn so much from you. So let's kick off. I'm going to throw it back onto you, though. Who are you? What do you do?
Who am I and what do I do? Great question. Well, I've got a training company which you're a part of.
Yeah.
And bottom line is, I fluked really what I'm doing at the moment. Now, It was a fluke. I left the family business in 2017 and didn't really know what I was going to do, and came across the personal, an event space, coaches, authors, experts, and just really become, I think, the sort of sales coach to coaches and experts, really. So that's kind of what I do.
And I want to share with everybody today, I think I'm going to lay it out right from the start because it's really important that, yes, I'm part of ECA and I'm absolutely loving it. I have done for the last 10 months. Beyond that, though, it's the mentorship, it's the time you give, it's the kindness as well, but it's also the kindness in the direct approach and no BS as well, but always with the outcome to help me and challenge me as well to think for myself is so important. And like I said, be that mentor, and know as well, listen to what's not being said. When I've had hard times and you just picked up the phone and has gone, you're right. And like that speaks volumes to me. And I think people underestimate that when they are thinking about what do they need and the support they want from people. And this is where coaches and mentors truly change your life. And you've been a massive part of that in my life. And I think from leaving the corporate world I left is having someone else believe in me. That's been a big thing. And people are always like about, it's more than the money when you make an investment in programs as well. I'm always big with that. And this is exactly what I'm sharing here. It's the experience. It's how someone makes you feel. And I've definitely felt that working with you.
Yeah, thank you. It means a lot, really does. And I think when I first started coaching, I didn't really understand how you formulate what the rules were between being the coach and the person that you're coaching. I hadn't got any experience really in a professional capacity. And I think what I've decided to do in my company is when somebody works with me and my team, it's to love them and just give them loads of love. And I don't give a shit about the rules because, who made the rules up in the first place? I think I'm looking to have created in my company a community where we care at the end of the day. And if you're going to care, then you can't have conditions. So what does that mean? Well, it means that if I notice that Natalie Potts isn't quite as present as maybe she has been, or if I notice that Rob Eade's not commenting and being a part of things like he was before, if I want to, I can send you a little voice note and just send you some love. Now, I know there'll be loads of people out there going, oh no, you got to stick to the structure and you got to have this and that. And I just don't agree. I just don't agree. If I go to bed at night now and there's a little piece of me, and by the way, there was a period of time, as you've brought it up, where I just sensed that you've got stuff going on in your private life, and I'd see some of your social media stuff and all that, and I think I just reached out and said, hey, how are you doing? And I did it on a voice note via WhatsApp, a messenger or whatever it is. I didn't break the protocol because my highest clients get access to WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And then in my goal group, it's access to me. So I did it via Messenger,
Yeah.
to be respectful to other paying clients. But the point was, it was like, I just send something. And if I operate where my intuition is not able to, follow its own course, I might as well just close my company. So that's just my take on it, really.
Mm. You talk a lot, your books open with a close as well. And I've come from a background, like you just mentioned there, coaching of begin with the end in mind. What does open to a close mean?
What does open with a close mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, good question. Well, what it means is to look, I think so many people get this wrong when it comes to, like, if you were thinking about sales. One of the things that I tend to see that a lot of sales people get wrong is they think that they're meant to sell something to somebody every single time there's a conversation.
Yeah.
And so their general strategy when somebody shows a bit of interest is to pitch them with features, advantages, and benefits, and do lots of talking about, hey, here's what we've got. This is how it works. This is how to help you. This is what you get. These are the benefits. These are the features. This is what we created here. And I get that there has to be some of that at some point.
Yeah.
The problem is that really is old school. It's like 1970s, 1980s, 1990s sales tactics, talking at people. So what I created very, very early on in my career, I was in the photocopying industry, and most of my colleagues just pitched, just talked, just explained, and look, that'll get you so far. And that was a long time ago, by the way. It's like 25 years ago, probably longer, 27 years ago, something like that. And that was kind of what it was then. But I quickly worked out that I think great sales is really about understanding very, very quickly, as soon as you can, what result the person that showed some interest would need to get at the end for them to be like that's a great investment for me. So I think the skill really, and what open with a close means, is start with the end in mind. So what can they see? What can the customer see in the future that they'd want to get from you? What result could they get, or what result do they want to get? What led them to move towards you in the first place? Why did they select you? Why did they follow you? Why did they go on your website? Why did they click on your masterclass? Why did they download your ad? Like, find that out first, and then decide whether or not the vision that they've got and the result they want is something that you can deliver. And if you can't, stop and say, look, I'll be honest, before we get into the whole me trying to serve you and come up with loads of ideas and send you emails and kind of stuff, before you go down that route, just say, look, I can't help you. Vision, I can't do that. But I do know someone that can. If you know someone that can, and become a stakeholder for them. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if you can create the kind of result they're looking for in your program, then it's to say, look, great news is my program specifically designed for creating that vision.
Yeah.
I can definitely help you. So now let me ask you some questions and find out whether or not we're a good values match and whether or not we should move ahead. And that's the time to really sort of work backwards from the vision, if that makes sense. So start with the end goal or vision in mind. And if you can turn that vision into a reality for somebody at the end of your product, your service, your program, then work backwards and see if you can, make it, see if you can get to a point where they're ready to invest time, money, and energy with you to get that result. That's what it means.
Yeah, and I love everything you share there. Just makes sales very natural and bringing your personality to it as well. And I know before I invested, I was that person that was like, I don't do sales. Sales isn't that. Yeah. And I felt pushy and I felt salesy and I hated it. And then I just actually wasn't really seeing it in the right way. And coming on board, I'm continually, and I will continue to be the student in learning the skills, bringing them to life. And I find one of the biggest challenges I see for myself at the moment, probably as well, if I'm honest, and lots of people, is it's a bit of a buzzword, overwhelm for me, but more than that is people are just in their heads. And even having the space now to talk to you in this way, it just breaks it all down in a logical approach to go, actually, I know this stuff, it needs this skill set again, or I need to go back to this and look at this. And I think we can again, it's wrong to say we can blame or we can put it on, oh, it's my money mindset. It's like, no, it's just face into some of the skills you need to work on, bringing your personality to it, And also what I love this, like you said, is you make your own rules in business. Yes, you can have all the mentors, and I invest in an incredible array of people, but in different investments, but they each bring something different to the table. But it's for me to take action and go, well, what does that mean to me, my business, and what do I want to do? Opposed to, well, you said to do that and it hasn't worked, or you said to do this and it did, all of that kind of thing. I think people can get wrapped in quite quickly.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, look, when you go outside of your body and start blaming other things, then you've got a problem. You're in a fearful state.
Yeah.
And, the power is to realize that you create how you feel and you're in control of what you can do now. And look, I'm in my head all the time, same as anybody else. I can get myself in all kinds of a funk with all kinds of different things. I'm no different to anybody else. When it comes to sales, if I am in a funk, what I'm able to do is go, okay, look, I recognise me overthinking something here.
Yeah.
And I think that's the first thing. If anybody listening to this who knows that they're a bit of an overthinker, like, it's okay to overthink. It's absolutely fine. It's part of the human experience. Overthinking is designed to keep you safe. And that's, part of how it all works. Fear inside your body, it's involuntary. You're never going to get rid of it. Like, just surrender to that and go, okay, so I've got a fearful part of my brain that does a bit of that stuff. So that's the first thing. Just accept it, acknowledge it, surrender to it, love it, respect it, thank it. If you had no fears at all, you'd just like to say mad things, wouldn't you, in a sales conversation, and bad things would happen. So that's the first thing. I think then the second thing is really, and it's worth, it is worth doing this exercise. If you take a moment to think about some of the problems that you thought you might have that never came true.
Yeah.
I think it was it C.S. Lewis that's got that great quote, something along the lines of, I've had lots of problems, or I've thought about lots of problems in my life that never came true, basically.
Yeah.
But I think, look, salespeople, or even if you're business owner, responsible for bringing revenue in, if you're a business owner with a team that is responsible for bringing revenue in, if you're somebody that sees themselves as a customer server rather than a salesperson that's responsible for bringing revenue in, then my advice, if you're somebody that overthinks it and has lots of fears, is to upskill yourself.
Yeah.
Actually have something to fall back on when the hindering thinking comes, because the hindering thoughts will never go away. Like, my system, I actually have 5 things in my system that I do for my own brain before I even have a sales conversation with somebody. And I do it every time, even to this day. I've learned quite quickly, to be honest. But there are times when I'll go into a sales conversation thinking, maybe this isn't the right time. And then I recognize straight away that thought is just not going to serve me or serve them. And I stop and I'm like, okay, so if I take that thinking into this conversation, they're going to vibe my low consciousness. And look, I'm a customer server. So like most people in your world, I like to serve other people. So if I want to be like serving or in service when somebody's looking to buy from me, then I can't take bad thoughts into that conversation, because the other person just vibes it. It's called low consciousness. And, when buyers are buying, and a lot of salespeople or a lot of people that have to sell their products and services don't know this. When a buyer buys, it's very emotional for them. So they use emotion. And when you've got some skills, you'll learn not to be emotional.
Yeah.
You'll learn to follow a process and follow the system. So when they're being emotional, you need to be logical.
Yeah.
And like follow some skills, have some skills in that moment, because otherwise, if you get 2 emotional people, anything can happen. And that's the problem. You'll have some good conversations, you'll have some bad conversations, you'll get attached to them saying no, and you get upset about it and frustrated. So my advice to anybody that is struggling with, fearful thinking or generalized unhelpful assumptions, thinking about things that are going to go wrong, is like, you can change it if you want to.
You mentioned there around skills, and I love how every time we meet each month, and I love the fact that we go there and everybody's very supportive of one another. There's never any judgment. It is like you say, their community, and you live and breathe that. you did a session, I think it was March, and we focused on skills, and it took me, one of my actions was to go away and look at the skills that you've given us, because I think we're given lots of things on whether it's a mastermind or programs, and we don't, same as when we write loads of notes, we don't actually then go and implement them. So I really challenged myself to be focusing on them. Out of all of the skills that you help people with, which do you think is one that people don't focus enough on and should give more time to?
Good question. Well, I think the number one thing that you have to master is your own state.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that, and that's the thing. You can have your workbooks and your scripts, and you can do all your training and stuff. And if your energy is not in the right place, you're not thinking the right things, then everything goes wrong. So yeah, I think mastering how you think and mastering, how it's really choosing the energy that you're going to operate in during the sales conversation, whether it's a Zoom, whether it's over a phone, whether it's face to face. I was just talking to Jack, head of sales at our company, and him and Joe, one of the team, they're at a live event today. And we were talking about what energy he's going to choose. And he said, I'm going to choose the hyper focus energy. And I taught him that years ago, which is like when you're at an event with other people, there's two energies. There's the sort of like, I'm just going to collaborate and find a few people, and I'll sit on my phone a little bit and stay at the stand and stay safe, and I'll have a cup of coffee at 11 o'clock, and people can just stand and get a sweet, which is like no relevance to anything, and then we can swap business cards, and I'll probably follow him up in a couple of weeks, and I'm just going to experience it and have a glass of wine afterwards. And look, that's an energy that you can choose if you want. Or there's another energy, which is in the next 5 hours, Jack's got 5 hours there. Like, what am I looking to achieve? What are my goals?
Yeah.
What questions am I going to ask people? What energy am I going to operate in? Like, what does amazing look like? What does a qualified lead look like? Who am I actually looking for? Like, you can actually spend some time getting hyper focused around prospecting and from Jack's point of view, he came off that call like going, bang, I'm ready. And then he can drop into, it's a bit like trying a dress on. It's like you can slip the dress on, and if it, try it on, and if it fits, great, crack on. I was looking at loads of dresses at the moment for a wedding we're doing later in the summer. And it's like, get that energy right, try it on. If it fits, go for it and feel great, own the space. And, I like to operate in, soft spiritual energy with great skills and really enter at an event, really enter into some powerful discussions and really find, people that actually need what we do. I'm not there for chitty chat. I'm not there for, let's get back to each other after Brexit or ring me in the new year. It's like, I'm just not looking to do that. So,
yeah.
And I'm not saying if anybody's listening to this, that's what you do. I'm not making it right or wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just saying there are different energies that you can choose. And I think if you're going to maximize your energy as a professional salesperson, if you're going to go and actually network, be clear on what you're trying to achieve, have a goal, set an outcome, just like you do if you're doing workouts in a gym, or if you're getting in a car to go somewhere, or if you're going to, if you've got a task to do, then you set yourself some goals. And like, if you want to be great at sales, you've got to do the same thing.
I love that. And it's like, I went to a podcast show yesterday in London, which was phenomenal. And I asked myself quite a lot, because I think it starts with you. It's the awareness that you have and your intention. And I know we talk a lot around purpose as well, which is what you're sharing there. And I asked myself, like, how do I want to show up today? And I wanted to take kind of one big thing from yesterday. I was like, I don't need hundreds of notes. I don't want to write loads of ideas. And my one biggest thing was just bringing a bit more fun to business, even like podcasts and everything. I'm going to look at how I do that differently. And again, like you just said, the purpose of the conversations, what it actually means. And it just reminded me of when you say about, it doesn't always have to be an end result from that either, or a return from that straight away, but it's opening up the right conversations, opening up the right direction you want to take your days, your business, and build on that. But I always love the share when you say about, you don't go on a first date and then get married, have kids and everything there. But people look at sales like, got to close them, got to do it, done. And it's just about slowing it down, but being very again, logical on all the steps you take with purpose.
Yeah, great. And I think, anything that you're great at in life, you follow a system, you follow a framework, you follow, we laugh about this at home. My oldest daughter, Liv, and the little one, Eva, they love baking with my mom.
Yeah.
And Liv's like really good at making walnut cake and lemon drizzle cake. And mum's got a beautiful recipe for it. And I'm always fascinated by this because, like, they follow the same recipe, but it's different every time. And actually, that's kind of like when it comes to communication in business, and when it comes to like how I teach sales, that's actually be like have a framework, have some skills, have a purpose, be intentional, and then let it roll a little bit and just be natural and let it flow and see where it goes, and don't try and control every single thing. Like, just let go of trying to control what other people think and what other people do, and stop trying to talk everybody into it. And as you know now, I call that get energy.
Yeah.
Like, so many salespeople are just trying to get you to do something that benefits them. It's just classic sales. It's like, here's what I think you should do, and you should go for the high one. And you're like, yeah, of course you think that. Like, but they say it before they've even found out anything about you. So I'm the opposite of get. The opposite of get, by the way, is sell. And my philosophy around sales is to really commit to understanding the other person first, before solving things. And that's what I think in the 21st century, you don't need the gift of the gab. You need to have a sales process and a structure around how you operate when you meet somebody that might possibly get a great result from what you do and has shown some kind of interest, a micro commitment, downloaded a book, watched your website video, been to an event, seen you, done something, whatever it might be. Like, your job when you meet someone that's showing a bit of interest is not to pitch them, but it's to sell to them. And that means to understand what they need, understand whether they're a good fit, understand by needing what they need from you, what's the problem, and what's going to happen if they don't solve that problem. Like, really commit to that. And I think once you do that work, immediately you increase trust, immediately you increase rapport, immediately they can tell that you're different to all the other salesy people out there that are doing the over-explaining and the talking, that you've got their best interests at heart. That's what I think great salespeople do. They take Jack, for example. I taught Jack the elite closing formula. He was, in his own words, in another sales company, in another corporation where there wasn't much training. And what's great about the way Jack sells is that he's mastered the bit that I was just talking about, is that he would never sell something to somebody that isn't a good fit or doesn't need it, or like he's got the best interests of the client at heart. And that's really important because, a relationship means that both groups of people, if it's more than one, need to come out the other side getting what they want even stronger. And you see, if you can collaborate by understanding first, then it's a game changer. And I think, great salespeople, they're not looking to solve when they're selling. They're looking to understand what somebody would need to get for it to be a great investment first, and really committing to doing that understanding. And I think once you do that, then it just instantly stands you out from the rest, which is it's a really powerful skill to have.
Yeah, and you've answered one of the questions I was just going to ask you as we come to the end, but it was around, I always look to people to invest in kind of who's pioneering and doing something different out there. And I think that what you shared isn't, it's not rocket science, and we know we can get everything on Google and stuff, but it is like you share here, it's us having the time and the space. And what I love about being able to go to ECA is I give myself that, it doesn't have to be rush in your business, about slowing it down and giving yourself the time to really, again, understand yourself, your business, what it looks like, and your ideal client. And there's too many people out there doing, like you're saying, the pitching, the bad selling, they haven't got the skills. They're not actually seeking to understand And that is what's going to differentiate you in your business to be sustainable. I don't think we can wing it the same way. I think COVID brought a lot of let's focus on the year stuff now, and I get that, but I also think we need to have a shift in where we sit with our own businesses in being longer term and having a stronger vision as well for what does it look like 5 years down the road.
I can tell you now, I'm coming up to the 5 year point, and like I'm feeling massive frustrations on one hand, and massive like celebrations on the other hand, because I know that if you want to build something long term and sustainable, and like I am building a global business as we speak, people zoom in from Australia, from South Africa, from Indonesia, the Far East, Thailand, not Indonesia, Thailand, some parts of Europe. And on the one hand, I want it to go faster. I want it to be bigger. I want more customers. I want more cash in the business. I want a big podcast. I want more YouTube followers. I've got all these things that I want.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, I go, well, hang on a minute. I started this company with nothing on my kitchen table in 2017, stroke early 18. I'm into my 5th year. Let's look at how far we've come first, and there's a lot of great things to focus on. So yeah, I think for anybody, and again, if you follow gurus, if you listen to gurus, if you listen to anybody who's successful, they all say the same thing, which is if you want to build a powerful business, like you've got to do it, you've got to show up consistently, you've got to build it on values, you've got to build it on customer service, you've got to build it on principles. And look, that just takes time. Look, I've been with my wife Kerry this year, we've been married for 16 years, and we've been together 20. And like we're far from perfect. There's loads of things that we'd both probably do better, and all the rest of it. But when you think about the amount of time that you put into a relationship that's 20 years old, and like my parents have just celebrated 55 years. I don't think it's all of the celebration, by the way. But like, great relationships take time, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
And to fall in love and to be in love and to stay in love takes time. I love my 9-year-old more than I did 9 years ago. I love my 13-year-old more than I loved her 13 years ago. Like, businesses take time to grow. Relationships take time to grow. Love takes time to grow. It takes time to strengthen. And I think, again, short-term wins are great along the way. Having a little short-term win, maybe running a little promotion. It's great for the bank account. It's great for the client. All that's great. But ultimately, it's about building something long-term and sustainable. And I think what the gurus won't tell you is that unless you manage your expectations, that comes with some real frustrations and some real imposter syndromes and like negative thinking and actually it's to get the harmony between emotion and logic. So it's to have a strategy for growth, and it's to not get carried away. Like, I'm a really creative person, so like if I'm not careful, I'm coming up with something new every day. Yeah. But also, if I'm not careful, and I've been guilty of this in the past 18 months, it's too rigid for me as well. So again, switching on creativity and following a recipe, there's some harmony in there somewhere. But yeah, look, bottom line is, like, if you want to build something big and massive and sustainable and life-changing, it takes time.
Yeah. The conversation's been amazing, and you've answered everything I was going to ask within that anyway. And I guess one thing I'd ask you now, though, is if you looked at all of your clients, what is the one thing that they all have?
So I think there is it's a great question, and it's actually an easy answer. There isn't a person that works with us closely that doesn't share this, and that is every single one of them want to be in service of other people. They want to serve others, and that is a common denominator, and everyone's got it, and that's great. It's a wonderful thing. I think where it becomes a bit of a problem with sales is for some people they can be a bit discombobulated. Between serving and selling, and there's actually there's no reason why that should exist, and it only exists because the people that don't have the right skills think that the best way to sell is to serve and be subservient and say, look, I'm not going to sell you. I'm not going to pitch you. Here's what it is. If you're interested, let me know. I'm not going to get back to you. But actually, that doesn't work. Being submissive, it doesn't work. And here's the reason why it doesn't work. We've got inside our brains like ancient mechanical structures that are designed to make sure we don't get duped and turned over and robbed and stolen and all that kind of stuff. So one of the things that just before somebody buys, one of the things, a system in their brain it's almost like a checks and balance. So you've got a part of your brain, I've got a part of my brain that just before it surrenders and gives itself to the other person and exchanges contracts and gives them money and all that kind of stuff, there's like little sort of, I call them the little red flags. There's a little red flag system, and they're in here. They're like hypersensitive to anything, and they're the last line of defense. So just before somebody goes ahead with you, they're like on high alert. Yeah. And what that means is that if the red flag system feels like if it gives you money, you're so submissive in life because you're demonstrating being submissive in sales that actually them giving you or me giving you money is not safe. So it's important that you're not submissive and subservient. It's also important that you're not the other way, which is like gung-ho and like give us your money and all that horrible stuff. Like it's important that you are structured, confident, organized, focused, and around money, you're in high consciousness. It's like, look, here's what happens next. Here's the options for you to choose from.
Yeah.
Which one suits you best?
Yeah.
Like you've got to, in the moment, you've got to own it, and you've got to make sure that your energy is in the right place, because no one will give you money if they feel like you need their money more than they need the result of your product or service that it will get.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, like, being in service is the common denominator of everybody I meet. But also, if you serve so much that you forget to be able to sell and close contracts, exchange contracts, then you're going to be somebody who's poor, and you'll be not just poor. I don't mean poor financially, but it becomes really frustrating because you're like, I'm giving them everything, and I'm serving them, and I'm doing everything I can, and I was hoping that they'd kind of just like go ahead with me. But I found out I've gone ahead with someone else, and I'm pretending I'm not pissed off about it, but I am really. And I've been there. I know what that feels like. Same. Yeah, you've got to try and find that harmony in between both.
Yeah. So you've been very kind in sharing how some people get started, they're interested, and that's what we're involved in my program. How else can people connect with yourself? And I know you mentioned Jack there, and Jack's phenomenal. And I certainly was. The first interaction I had with Jack, I was that defensive. Who are you? And then he had the conversation, like you just said, like he served me, he helped me out, and I was like, okay. And he gave me the space and time, and he just was genuine with that. But how else can people connect with you?
Yeah, and just on that one, by the way, like giving people space and time is fine, as long as there's an intention to progress later, because there's nothing worse than people that just keep circling back around and consuming your energy and your information that don't have any intention of ever giving you any money. And you can't be okay with that.
No.
Anybody listening to this, just find an elegant way of calling that out. It's like, if somebody says to me, they go, oh, Matt, I'm really interested. Can you ring me in 6 months? I go, of course I can. Of course I can ring you in 6 months. And in between now and then, I just want to be super clear. Like, what information can I send you in between now and then? Because I'm going to ask you a question in a minute. And the reason why I'm going to ask you a question is really to understand what this means. So just imagine, here's the question. Just imagine 6 months had passed and I'm ringing you now. What will you need from me in 6 months' time when it comes to like sales and closing that you haven't got now? What will you need in 6 months' time? And again, I'm inviting them to show a little bit of humility and a bit of hunger to be interested in my product or service or not. And if they say to me, I'll be honest, I'm not sure, I go, in that case, I'm not going to schedule a call back for 6 months because it's no good for you and it's no good for me. So You get to choose now. I could take you out and unsubscribe altogether if you want, and you'll never hear from me and my people again. Or what do you need from me? How can I help? Now, look, if anybody's listening to this and think, oh my gosh, that's a bit too much, that's fine. That's fine. But think about the principle that I'm trying to teach you. I'm not trying to teaching you. The principle is you don't want to build a community of people that consume and don't buy.
Yeah.
And if you keep getting people saying to you, I'd love to work with you, but you have created that response.
Mm-hmm.
Because when somebody wants to work with you, when somebody wants to buy a house, like if you want to buy a house that you can't afford, and most people can't afford the house they live in, like me and my wife bought a house 3 years ago that we couldn't afford. It's like, you know, we borrowed it off somebody else to pay for it. You know, it's called a mortgage company. So it's like, we didn't then turn around and say, oh, we can't afford it, we need to have a think about it. It's like we can't afford it, so we're going to borrow the money off you. And we're going ahead. Despite COVID and Brexit, we've decided we want to move. So it was an opposite energy to, we need to have a think about it, it's not the right time. Like, so you see what I mean? It's like, you want to create an environment where you've got people that are looking to buy from you, not just consume from you.
Yeah.
And that's on you. So, how can you connect with me? Like any social media platform. Really the best place, I'll be honest. If people want to connect with me anywhere on social, probably my Facebook group. But also, if you just go to the Academy website, eliteclosingacademy.com, you can get the book on there. You can do what you want, really. And I'm clear. I'm really clear that the people that are in my community would need to be business owners or business owners with teams that want to communicate, sell, be easy to buy from, and to have the best interests of clients at heart all the time. You know, if that's, you can join my community. If it's not, like Grant Cardone or somebody like that will be perfect for you. And I love Mr. Cardone, by the way. It's just a bit harder than me. So there's loads of people out there, but my people, my community, if you're a customer server and, you know, sales is something that you want to focus on, then I'm definitely the right person for you.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for listening. Are you looking to grow your business and tired of not seeing consistent results? Head to the show notes right now and check out my quiz to discover the one thing holding you back from growing your business with ease. Business should really not be complicated. I'll see you on the next episode.